So I was trying to make sure that this didn't become my 50 pounds project. So I didn't try the best of the best, but it was kind of interesting. You know, in some of the states, the women would always choose the place and the food. Usually it was a place in public. And the couple that stand out is one woman thought in Maine that I should meet. I'm squeamish when it comes to food, but she thought I should meet my dinner before we ate it. So
you met your lobster?
What do you think that was?
And then they threw them in the pot?
Yep. Yeah. And I had to, experience all that, and it was okay.
Welcome to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we share stories and strategies to turn any event or life moment into something unforgettable.
Events are wild, and the people who work in them are some of the most resilient humans on Earth. If you know, you know.
So come with us behind the curtain for a look at their most memorable experiences.
As they say, the show must go on, so let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events. My name is Alysse Bryson, and I'm one of the co-hosts here today with Libby Sundgren. And today's guest is a connection creator, a friendship expert, and a 4-time author who's dined with strangers. That's right, strangers in all 50 states. And she did it on purpose. Meet Shari Leid, former litigator turned national speaker and founder of the Flip the Box movement. Through her retreats, podcast, and viral TEDx talk, I've watched it twice, Shari teaches us how to break free from the boxes that keep us stuck and design authentic connection. Whether you're planning an event or navigating real life, she's the owner of An Imperfectly Perfect Life and the heart behind a movement that's now recognized with its own National Day, March 5th. If you're tired of small talk and surface level networking, Shari's here to flip that script. Shari, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for that great introduction.
I'm your hype girl. Your hype girl.
As you were talking, I was thinking, yep, I'll sit down and eat with anybody.
That's right. I mean, I think I would, but let's just start there because, okay, first of all, when I heard about your book and I understood the premise of it, before we even get into all the meat of that, I immediately thought of the logistics. How do you find the strangers? How did you schedule? Like, what order of the states did you go in? Like, I have those kinds of questions.
Yeah, it's like planning events, and I'm an event girl. I've planned parties, and I haven't done it for work, but I'm naturally wired to do events. And I always say that in a previous life, I was a calendar because I like schedules and everything.
I'm going to use that.
And so this was like planning an event, right? I came up with an idea. I had the goal of going to all 50 states and meeting with strangers, and I had to figure out a timeline on how to do it and what I needed to do. And my biggest fear, like any event planner, was that somebody was going to stand me up. Like I would travel to that place and I would get stood up, and there I was in West Virginia or whatever, trying to find somebody to eat with. So that was my biggest fear. And I know as event planners, you hire your talent and you're worried about them not showing up. So what do you do? So I really planned this project as if I were planning the biggest party in the world.
That's fascinating to me. And how did you find the strangers?
Yeah, so I found the strangers first because because I was doing this travel on my own, I decided to meet with women. Otherwise, it might have been a different project. And
that could have been a reality TV show, though, Shari.
It could have gotten to be something more. But so I need to find the women first. My only criteria is that they communicate with me. So I ended up with women between the ages of 20s and 60s, different races, economic levels, education levels, religious, political beliefs, different areas, big cities, small towns. 21, I got on my own. And these were people like, for instance, a podcaster that interviewed me that I had never met before.
Okay.
Or my website designer. She lives in Indiana. We never met or talked about our personal lives before. Then I reached out on social media, said, this is my project, listed the states. People sent me their aunts, their former roommates,
so
their
fun.
nieces, their former
crowdsource
coworkers. Yeah. And I had a big US map and I was circling, where everyone was at. And then after I, then I had 13 states left with nobody knew anybody in West Virginia. No one knew anybody in Oklahoma. And I cold called basically because I decided maybe at least if they're business owners in the area, that's how I decided to find them, that if they stand me up, I know where their business is and I will go and find them. So I reached out, kind of cold called to business owners and ended up with my list. It changed a little bit as I went along because this was a year-long project. So had to fill in some people, but it was okay because I met the right people at the right place. And I got less scared about it as, when little dips happened. And that's how it all kind of came together.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I just think that that's very brave because I don't even want to I'm just not like a networky kind of person. I get kind of shy. I kind of, talk about the weather or something, which is so not exciting. So how did you decide what kinds of conversations you were going to have and how you're going to keep that, like the flow and the connection kind of going and developing throughout a dinner with a complete stranger?
Well, this was the thing. As I was starting this project, I knew I was going to write a book about this. And because of my prior books, I knew that I was also going to try to get some media exposure as I traveled. So I would tell these women ahead of time, this is going to be a book. I might get some media. And so I thought the biggest objection would be, oh, thank you, but I'm a private person. But the one objection that happened more than once was, I don't know if I'm interesting enough for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting. And, if we talk about we talk about social situations or events that we create for people and our guests and our clients and their guests. And this is what's going on in their minds a lot of times when they come to events is, am I going to be interesting enough or will I fit into, this new venue or, whatever place it was. So I thought that was really interesting that would be someone's first thought. Because here I am, just somebody with a personal project from Washington State. We're just sitting down to share one meal and we've got something to do, even if it's awkward, we get to eat. But you would think that you would not be interesting enough for me was somewhat heartbreaking. But this is what we all carry in these social situations.
Yeah.
That's
a really interesting pattern. That seems like a surprise to me. Were there any other surprises that you learned along the way?
So I was meeting all these women, pretty sequentially, and some we would sit down and it felt like we were best friends and we went to high school together. Others, it was a little bit harder to pull things back and forth. And so I didn't share with them. I started to make a list. To, what was this woman like? How old was she? To see what my vibe was. Like, what do I like in a girlfriend? And I can tell both of you as I sit here and look at the screen, I'm situated between you. Apparently, I really like blondes.
I mean, we're a lot of fun, Shari. We're a lot of fun.
But that is true. But in all seriousness, what I found was when I approach, you asked the question, how did these conversations start? I approach conversations in this project, and I do in general, with real curiosity to learn about the other person. And I found that when I did that, oftentimes they would reflect or mirror back to me my behavior. And so we got into these conversations that were really quite deep for people just meeting each other. And when you eat, your dopamine, naturally kick in. So you're eating food. If you watch my TEDx talk, eating food has always meant safety, survival, and belonging, since the dawn of time. So this is such a great way to socialize with someone else when our dopamine, endorphins, everything good is already going on because we're eating.
Do you have a standout state that had like the best food of all the places that you went?
So I was trying to make sure that this didn't become my 50 pounds project. So I didn't try the best of the best, but it was kind of interesting. In some of the states, the women would always choose the place and the food. Usually it was a place in public. And the couple that standout is one woman thought in Maine that I should meet. I'm squeamish when it comes to food, but she thought I should meet my dinner before we ate it. So
You met your lobster?
What do you think that was?
And then they threw him in the pot?
Yep. Yeah. And I had to, experience all that, and it was okay. So that was interesting. Another one, which was West Virginia. Apparently they have this thing that it's like bread with pepperoni inside of it. And she was like, this is popular here. And there's a name for it. And my head, I'm thinking this is pigs in a blanket. But it was and she was like, no, it's not. It's a bread roll with pepperoni. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'd eat it.
blanket
That sounds
fits.
actually pretty good to me. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. It was excellent.
West Virginia, they know how to do
Absolutely.
it.
And I didn't have to watch
there
them
you
kill
go.
the
You didn't
pepperoni.
have to meet the pepperoni before it
that's
became
key.
pepperoni.
Did you make any kind of connections with any of these women that you still communicate with today?
Yes, a lot of them. In fact, I just spoke a few minutes ago to the woman from Boston, Tammy, that I met. So during these travels, these were organic conversations. And for the most part, unless it happened to come up, I stayed away from religion and politics because that's the polite thing to do when you just meet somebody before you build trust. So I told all of these women that at the end of this project, I will send out a survey and ask everybody what religious beliefs they have, what political beliefs they have, because I thought, well, that'd be kind of interesting to see who I sat down with. And I told them I would share this. Well, I did take that survey, but also during this time, I started to create Zoom meetings so these women could meet. And we'd have these kind of Zoom parties together. And so when I got the survey results back, I decided I'm not going to share this because I'm not going to ruin this connection that these women have by saying this is what this person who this person voted for, this is what church this other person goes to. And I had a book launch in New York where everyone wore black except for the women in the project. They wore red. So they were able to recognize each other right away. And it was just the most beautiful thing to see all these women hugging each other like they were the best of friends, just laughing together, where I knew there's no way this woman over here would have even crossed paths with this other woman over here. And here they are toasting and laughing together. I mean, there's something really magical about it.
I
gives me the
know.
shivers on my
That makes me feel a little
It gives me
teary.
the warm fuzzies. Yeah. Yeah.
It seriously was America at its best. I mean, all these diverse faces and different life experiences, just wearing the same color dress and recognizing each other and hugging each other. And it was a little magical.
What a cool event.
Yeah. I remember seeing the photos for that and the videos, I think. Yeah, I do remember that. So you said, don't wait, create. How can event planners design intentional communities from the moment the invitation lands in somebody's inbox or snail mail? Like how can event planners take what you've learned and create meaningful connections at whatever scale of event they're producing?
I think because of my experience and not even doing this as a professional, I understand how difficult the job is. And especially if you're doing event after event after event, it's so easy and you're dealing with all these different personalities and schedules and people showing up. I think it's very easy to forget the client and forget the message that they're trying to and the experience they're trying to give their guests, because you're going through these checklists and you're making sure vendor is here, vendor is there. So I think, just from my layperson's view, what an event planner could do to really change the event is the pre-planning, to really understand and put somewhere. This is what I do when I speak. So I'm a professional speaker. And so I work with event planners and I offer unlimited pre-planning sessions because I think that's so important to be part of their team as well, even though you go in there to speak for maybe 45 minutes. And I will put on a sticky note as the event comes on my computer what the mission is of the event. What's the mission of that organization? So I keep that top of mind because that's the vibe and the experience I'm going to bring in. And so as event planners, it's so easy to get caught up in all the different to-do things and lose the mission and the focus and the vibe. There's something very powerful about the energy you can bring as an event planner. I mean, you're the leader, going into it and just remembering that client's mission and the energy and who you want. And that also leads you to put who you want at what door and what sequence of events you have, because you'll remember the vibe that client wants to have for their guests to come in and the experience. And you won't get lost in the, okay, first we have to do it this way, because this is the way I always do it.
Mm-hmm. I know it can be hard sometimes when you have a way that you do things and you're like, no, I know it's going to work. It's sometimes hard to shift that, like if you, like you said, based on the needs of a specific client or an audience, it can sometimes be hard to take your blinders off and, adjust the way that you're working.
And a lot of events, we talk, don't wait, create. You said a lot of the event planners you have more experience than the person whose event it is. And so many times in general, we don't share our experience because we think, we don't want to step on toes. This is the way they've always done it. And what's the worst that can happen? They say no to your idea. But, for example, sometimes I do MC work, and I always think it's great if I'm able to go out before the event starts and start doing my MC work. Maybe Alysse, you have the same experience, and start talking to people that are walking in and get control of that energy of people coming in. And there are some clients that go, no, we don't want you talking to anybody before, and they don't know what to do with it, right? They don't know what to do with it. But, don't wait, create, get those ideas out there, make it exciting for you. If you find that you're getting so tired of the events, you went into this profession because you're good at it, because you want to do this, and you find that it's weighing you down. Maybe it's because the creative nature of you is being stuffed down and you're not sharing these amazing ideas you have that could elevate your client's experience. So don't wait, create.
And you don't know what you don't know. Like I remember the first, Alysse, you remember this, the first cocktail competition that we planned, Mai Tai Masters. And this was, almost decades ago at this point, but we had never done one before. Cocktail competitions were still like kind of new-ish. They weren't really super common. And we didn't know, we'd never done it before. And so at one point, all of the mixologists were revolting, and they wrote like a letter. It was an email, but an email signed by all of them to our food editor saying, we will not do this unless like these demands are met. That's not really, but that was kind of the vibe. And we were like, oh my gosh, of course. Yes. We'll do all these things. We had no idea. Like, we're sorry you're so upset.
We would know.
Of course, we don't know what we're doing. So we're just trying to figure it out. So yes, we'll take your expertise. So sometimes it is nice for other people and, for the event professional to let their client know, give them some fresh ideas.
And I think what brings an event professional, what makes them stand out in this game, and I've hired event professionals as well, is the research that they do. The event professionals that know the audience that's coming in and they know the organization, they can stand out versus the other event professionals that, are kind of cookie cutter. It's like going to a hairstylist or a makeup artist in the sense that the ones that are really good, they know how to read they know how to read that person. They're not just doing what they did in school. That's why I think of somebody who creates these amazing events. They really know the audience coming in. They do their research.
Well, it's that unreasonable hospitality, like the book. It's the surprise and delight. Like when Libby and I went and did a photo shoot for this podcast, we used a hair and makeup gal that she's known forever and worked with, but I hadn't met her before. If I had, I didn't remember it. But I know I hadn't worked with her. And not only did she make us look fabulous, which is great. Every woman wants to feel like they look their best in a photo shoot. But she was in between, while she wasn't doing anything, she was taking all this social media content for us. And I was like, this is amazing,
truly.
And that wasn't an expectation. And so that's just a silly example of like going above and beyond to make sure the people in the room feel like you wanted them there and like that they're important. So I guess, what are some tangible ways that you ensure people aren't just in a room at an event and are actually connecting? Like, do you have any tips or tricks?
When I've thrown large parties, and what I've done is I've kind of made something for everybody. I'm a big, of course, this comes from parties. This is not necessarily fundraisers, and we all do different things. But I think of, okay, what would the introvert like? What type of booth would the introvert? What was the one that wants a selfie? Okay, we have to make sure we have a selfie station here with a logo, because there's probably a brand here that we want to promote, right? For free advertising. And, there's dancers over here. We want to have a dance floor, but we also want to have seating around the dance floor for the non-dancers so they can feel close enough and included, but not so far away. It's like trying to get a place for everybody involved. And who are all your, are there older people there? How are they going to walk in? Where do they want to sit? Oh, they want to sit away from the music, or do they want to sit closer to the stage? And just trying to think, who are, these people here, and how can I make everyone feel comfortable? And the truth is, you're not ice cream. People aren't going to all be happy. But if we think these things through, like you said, it's the surprises. We all remember those big parties that we've gone to that just wowed us. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it wasn't like, I probably couldn't tell you necessarily what was on the menu that was amazing, or even every single decoration and detail, but it was the way that event made me feel. Mm-hmm. And that feeling comes from knowing that it was well thought out. It was well thought out. And I felt like they knew that I was coming there.
Yeah. It's nice to go into an event and feel like it was a little part of it was designed just for you, even if it really wasn't,
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you have, the luxury of having greeters or vendors there, if there's some that are a little bit more talkative to some of the guests that have a difficult time speaking or communicating, that's always helpful. And food that's easy to access, because when you do feel uncomfortable, even if like you're a non-drinker, you want to have something in your hand, right? Yes. You just want to, so you're not sitting there pretending to fiddle on your phone.
Mm-hmm. Just anything to keep hands busy, really.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah. Because we all see them, right? The person who stands at the end of at the edge of an event, and they look like they don't know where to land at the event. And we don't want that type of energy.
I don't remember where we found him, but we ended up hiring him for a handful of events. It was a guy that would come dressed as a very stylish police officer, but he would give out fashion citations like the fashion police, but instead of it being like get a nose job or something, mean, it wasn't mean. It was all really nice things like best smile, best energy, best shoes. Like it was all things that would, when somebody, and people loved it.
It was cute.
Right?
Because we had him in,
it was really cute.
Events, the first event we had him at, there was a huge like freight elevator, and that's how people got between the two floors. And so, freight elevators are not fast. You're kind of that's a 5-minute commitment to get in, shut all the doors, go up. It goes so slow, and then you have to open it. So we had him in the elevator for half of the party, and it was really fun because he would give you a citation in the elevator because there was nothing to do in there.
That is so good, because you have, you're contained and people have to talk to each other, and he's facilitating it. And that's how the party starts. That is such an excellent idea.
Well, the citations were cute.
They were. We designed them. So
they weren't mean.
Yeah, they were cute. They were cute in design. They were cute in what they said. I mean, the whole thing was meant to be a feel good. And I just remember like everybody was taking selfies with him. Everybody wanted pictures.
He was a trooper.
With the fashion police. Yeah, that was really fun.
I think one of the most amazing things about event professionals now during this time is I talk about connection a lot outside of events, just connection, how we need connection. And event planners, people creating these events have this unique ability to bring people together. And I strongly believe that our generation needs to teach the next generation how to connect. And
yes, because they're not used to connecting. They're used to being behind a screen.
Yes, and we've done such a good job teaching them how to disconnect. And so to come up with these new ideas and these different ways and put them in that freight elevator,
not everything works. I remember, and this is again more than a decade ago, but when, you'd be at a gala or a fundraiser and the silent auction, they tried to move everything to everybody's phones instead of the bidding sheets. And it was a terrible idea because then everybody was just looking at their phone. Nobody was talking to each other. The photographers hated it because the pictures were awful, And so it was like, no, that's actually not the best way, So I think there's you try a lot of things and see what does and doesn't work.
That's a really good point, and even I was just at a conference this past week and there was a silent auction. This is kind of funny. I just got noticed that I won one of the items, but I didn't but here, check this out. I didn't recognize the charity. I signed up at somebody else's table. So I bid on a silent auction that wasn't the organization's silent. Apparently the organization used the online thing and I didn't get the memo and I saw a silent auction table. So I bid and apparently I donated to a children's hospital. So that's okay.
That's a good job.
Good job.
That's the first time I attended a silent auction. I didn't know I was bidding on the wrong place.
Oops.
Oh, it's all for a good cause.
That's
it's
hilarious.
all going to a good place.
It's all for a good cause. But if they had their tables out there and it wasn't on an app that I had to figure out how to download and quietly bid on myself, it wouldn't have gone to the children.
So how do you, after the hugs and the applause and the last selfie has been taken, what can people do to keep the community, to keep the connections going after an event is over?
Well, it depends probably on the organization, right? What they'll allow. But, I love, like, for instance, this conference I just went to, we're, LinkedIn connecting and all these things. So maybe, I don't know, you guys know this better than I do. I always like the after party, right? So
everybody loves an after party.
With social media, you could have an after party event where people just log on and do something. But also, at this conference, we were all exchanging our contact information. I don't know if there's a way to do that at events, but it was nice. It was nice. And now, I booked a couple of podcast people from that and we're talking about what we're doing and we wouldn't have, but for the after party that we're having now.
Mm-hmm. Was that the one that you were at? That was the one you were with Dana?
Yep. The goodie bags, man. I'm a favor of a goodie bag. A good goodie bag.
A good goodie bag. I don't like a bad goodie bag, to be clear. But a good goodie bag is
tell us about how to connect afterwards and how to continue the party, not just a cookie at the end of the night, but there's something there to say how to connect. Or, if you had fun. A big thing too is testimonials. If you had fun, get a free download. But we need our testimonials too and bringing everyone together.
I know we do.
Yes. What's the coolest swag bag item you've ever been gifted?
Ooh, probably a cookie, actually.
Speaking of cookies.
It's immediate.
End of the night, I'm like, oh my gosh, these cookies. The best swag. Oh, yeah. In Napa, there's like I'm going to pronounce it wrong because I'm not fancy, Baccarat, crystal drinking glass.
Ooh, fancy.
I guess that's the biggest swag. On one hand it was, but on the other hand, I only have one, and so it looks kind of lame.
Just me, just drinking by myself.
Yeah. And it's like now I'm moving to Dallas, and I move this one glass with me, so I don't know. The cookie probably satisfied me more than this one glass, but in like cost value wise,
probably
maybe
the
this
fanciest.
Glass, what's costing. Yeah, but probably what's costing me emotionally to have to wrap it up and carry it with me everywhere. Probably
the emotional glass. So Alysse touched on this earlier, but I want to talk about flipping the box and your nationally recognized day. I just think that's so amazing that you turned a personal mission into a movement and something that other people can share. I want to know what that was like and what lessons that event pros can take from your experience doing something like that.
So it's called Flip the Box because a quick backstory. I was orphaned as a child and I was found in a cardboard box. So I don't know my birth date, any identifying information. So all my life, I've been looking for this feeling of connection and belonging. And my travels around the US, I found that sense of self and belonging. And what I realized is I had symbolically taken the box I was found in and flipped it and made it a table for connection and belonging. And that's where the term flip the box comes in. And March 5th is simply a day that encourages people to sit down and share a meal with a long lost friend, a stranger, somebody that you haven't connected with for a while. Now, this is me doing this as an idea in my head. And I always say it's easy to make ugly pretty. It's really hard to make perfect any better. So when I come up with that idea, I just go with it. And just like I have a podcast, and if you listen to my first few episodes, it sounds like I'm locked in a basement room.
A hostage situation, trying to get out.
Yeah.
Nobody feels good about their first couple episodes.
Yeah,
Zoom, nobody feels good about them. Nope.
And so, and now I'm getting into YouTube, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, we'll see if anyone watches this. But it's, when you have an idea, if it's ugly, that's okay, because you can make it prettier. So my advice from my experience with Flip the Box, and now it's recognized as a national movement. I've been featured on different television shows, media, on your podcast. And this wouldn't have happened if I didn't start when it was ugly, because I had some freaking idea. So for event planners, you have an idea. It might seem impossible, or like maybe people won't like that. Just start ugly. You could always switch it and make it prettier.
Just get started.
Well, I love that. You have to start before you're ready, first of all. Like you definitely do. And, another segment that we do here that this kind of feels like a good transition now is it ain't bragging if it's true. And, you took an idea and you took a painful part of your life and a searching, and you flipped it and you made something amazing out of it. Right. And so you got Getty Images to show up at your New York City book launch. Like, that's not an easy feat. Like, they don't just, Getty Images doesn't just go anywhere. Right. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a pretty cool thing. So, I mean, and you talked a little bit about that event, with the women in the red dresses. And I know I saw footage of it, but like, what was that like planning that event? And then how did you feel when you walked in the doors? I just would love to hear a little more details about that event specifically.
So this was my big event. I love throwing parties, so it felt like a natural fit. But I actually started ugly, where I thought, okay, Soho House in New York. It's a funky room. I don't need to do much to it. But then my event planning, like, I want to be an event planner in my heart. I really do. I just never have done it except for my own parties. And so my event planning heart said, no, it has to be more. And so I started adding on more as we went along, and pretty soon napkins had different states on them that matched the appetizers. And I did hire an event planner over there. Shoots, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she was absolutely amazing. If her name comes to me, I will tell you, because she deserves credit.
We can put it in the show notes. We can put it in the show notes.
Okay. I will email it to you, because she came in towards the last minute, and she does, pretty weddings usually, and big stuff. But she came in and she had some great ideas. But so planning it up to the point, like anything else, that vendor costs a little bit of money, this vendor. But the experience everybody had at the end, even down to, so my book Table for 51, she thought of the idea of putting in note cards that say, postcards, will you do lunch? Let's have brunch. Just these extra little details that didn't cost that much extra in the grand scheme. Everybody's drinking bill, that was the expensive part. I didn't realize those were the friends I had, but the little postcards, they weren't as much, but they added that extra detail where people are like, they pick up the book, they look, they have the postcards. It's like, ribbons on the books, just these little extra things. And I had no idea, but there was some media there, and ended up in Us Weekly.
That is so wild.
I was like,
yeah.
I was telling everybody I know, I'm
me.
like, I have a friend in at US Weekly. Just wanted to let you know.
And so, you know, and people covered it and use, and so it's just crazy. And this comes from, you know, this all for me started after age 50, right? So one, it's not too late I still may do that event planning career.
You know what? I think you may not do it, you know, on a 9 to 5, but you do plan events. And I mean, planning 50 dinners or 50, you know, that's a lot.
That's a lot of planning.
You know, I'm going to do retreats in Dallas. So that'll give me my event planning. I don't want to say fix, but there is something there that I know if people are in this profession, they've been in it a while, there's this joy that comes from creating something and bringing people together like that. And that's what I felt as I was creating that event that night. You know, I'm you know, looking through everything and everything is spot on. I have the right people in the right places. My DJ was so good. He was so cool. I told him, he said, what kind of music do you want me to play? I said, well, you know, think of if you play, he was this black man from Africa. I said, if you ever DJ for a wedding party full of middle-aged white people, that's the music I want for this book launch. And
like,
so
I know
everyone loved the 90s hits. So, you know, it felt so good. And I danced, you know, so I had somebody announce me. I danced out there, but it was just beautiful to see all the people that had flown in and all the women there's so many women from the book that had never been to New York before, that had, you know, never put on a red dress before. And there were women there that when they sat with me, they had never sat down with an Asian person before. And so there were these women that were coming out of their comfort zone to celebrate my moment with me, but it was also a moment for all of them, because this was not just something new for me. This was new for every woman who agreed to sit down and share a meal with me.
Well, and that's what women do. You know, I know that there can be a lot of catty women and the Karens of the world, if you will, but there are so many other women that do lean in and do show up for each other, even when they're complete strangers. I mean, that's just been my experience. You just have to know where to look.
The South is a good place to look, by the way. At least, I guess, you know, they'll say, yes, ma'am. And
they're on it.
So what's next? You're relocating to Dallas, which is very sad for me and Sarah, because now we won't be able to see you as easily. We'll still see you. But what's next? Where do you see all of this going?
Yes. Well, it's so interesting. You know, at the end of this project, I ended up divorced. It's not because of this project, but this project actually gave me strength to recognize what I needed to close a door. And I swear, every time I close a door, doors open to everything I've prayed for. And this is happening time and time again. So next is now I've dove directly into the professional speaking. I should learn that word if I'm going to be a professional speaker, but into that. And my goal is by the time I'm 60 is to do a keynote in every single state. And I'm not going to make it like a project like this, but my goal is to help create connection. That's what I feel like I'm here to do. And if I speak in every single state about connection, I think I've done my work and I could retire. So that's what I'm going into. I mentioned creating retreats for women in Dallas, 3-day retreat. I say other retreats take you away. This one is designed to bring you back home. And so you can write your story, because so many of us live a story other people told us how to live, and we don't even realize that, whether it's our moms or our parents or society. So those are the next things. I might find love in Dallas. We'll see, but that's
Netflix.
Something else. That's on the checklist, but yeah, it's well, if I wait long enough, I'm going to be on the Golden Bachelor. But
I would watch. The ratings would soar, Shari. The ratings would soar.
Let's hope my kids don't have to watch that. Let's hope I find love before then.
Well, I think one thing is clear is that you found love for yourself, which is really important. And you found love for other women. And most importantly, you found love for building connection and community. And at the end of the day, that's what events are, whether it's one person sitting across from another person at a dinner table, or it's 3,000 people tearing it up on a dance floor. Like, that's connection. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. And it just, they always relate it to your health and living longer. One last story. When I traveled to Arizona, I met a 94-year-old woman, Betty. And of course, all of her friends were younger. But what she did is she lived on top of a hill. People hiked by and she would invite them in and talk to them. And this is something she's done all of her life. So I think when people are afraid to go to events, they're afraid to talk to somebody. I always think of Betty. If, the joy of living older to that age is not that we lose everyone, but we have more of an opportunity to make friends. But this has to start now. We can't just all of a sudden start when we're in our 90s going to the events and putting it up on the dance floor. We have to start now, even if we might feel a little bit awkward at first. You're not alone. Remember all the women who told me, oh, I don't know if I'm interesting enough for you. The awkwardness, we all carry it. It's just stepping out of your comfort zone. It gets easier over time.
Well, I just returned from a cruise to Alaska that I was on, and I hosted 5 different events on the cruise. And something that I noticed, I'd never been on a cruise before. Not sure if I will again. I mean, I had a good time. It's just a very different experience cruising. But what I noticed is, cruises, they may have 2,800 passengers or guests, but they have a staff of like 1,400, 1,500. And I kept noticing how ignored they were and how people wouldn't look them in the eye, wouldn't talk to them, just kind of ignored them when they were there unless they directly needed something. And it bothered me. And so I just, wherever I went, no matter where I was on that cruise ship, I was just, and they all had name tags. So I was just, using everybody's name and looking them in the eye and just making friends left and right. And one of the events ended up being my 50th birthday party. And because it was on a smaller event, the crew that was there working, the DJ and the bartenders, everybody that was working, they ended up as part of the party. They're in all the pictures. Like we just had so much fun together. And I don't know if the Alysse of 10 years ago or 20 years ago would have done that. Right. So I think there is something magical about, as you get older, you get more comfortable in your own skin and you realize that we all have more in common than we are different. And we're all a little nervous and awkward at an event, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We all are.
The most extroverted ones,
Absolutely.
are uncomfortable too, to, some extent. So yeah, we're all the same. We all just want to. We just all want our favorite song to come on, and wait
tear it up, man.
Hit the dance floor when that comes on.
What is your favorite song? What's as we wind down here? What's your favorite song? What gets you out to the dance floor like in a hot second?
What doesn't get me out to, I like Jodeci's Let's Get Married. I like the beat on that one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you know
that's
that
a
song?
Good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the beat on that one. I don't like the ABBA songs, but I will still dance. But yeah, I like beat,
Libby, what's yours? What'll get you out on the dance floor?
Oh my gosh. I mean, all of them. I was on the bomb squad in college. I don't know if you know this, but we were like a hip hop party dance team.
Oh,
that we sure did. We sure did on the basketball court at Gonzaga. We had some alumni wives complaining. We really did it up right. So, anything.
Ooh, I love dancing with you.
I still remember some of my old routines, but only little snippets. My knees probably couldn't take it anymore, but I'll try.
Well, this has been so much fun, and we'll include everything in the show notes. But Shari, where can our very many, many, many listeners find you?
Well, my website it's a long one. It's animperfectlyperfectlife.com. Or my name, I'm on every social. It's Shari Leid, Shari, and last name is Leid, Leid as in David.
Amazing.
I love it. Yeah.
Find me in Dallas.
Or go to a retreat, people. Come on.
Yes.
Well, that is a wrap for this episode of Beats Working. If you've got an idea or you want to reach out, just email us at info@beatsworking.show. Remember, every detail matters, every moment counts, and no matter what, the show must go on.
Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we explore what it takes to make moments unforgettable.
If you're leaving with a little more inspiration, a little more perspective, and a big side ache from all of the laughing at our funny jokes, then we've done our job.
Beats Working is a Work P2P production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support helps us keep the magic going.